East Bay, what's good? 1995, Pittsburgh, California. I don't remember the exact date, but it was either October or November. I was in the JFL, Junior Football League playoff game against the Dolphins. My team, the Falcons, we were down by 3 points. I was playing fullback at the time and doing well at it, especially at running the ball. It was 4th and goal, Falcons ball. Coach Kenny called my favorite play for me to get the ball. 44 dive, straight up the gut.
Okay.
It was at this time I realized that my dream of being a star player next year for the elite Pittsburgh Pirates as a freshman were about to come true. I saw it in my mind. Me scoring, the crowd going wild, my team carrying me off the field. I imagined my father telling me he was proud of me and actually meaning it this time. I saw my name being written down in all the scouts' books, making it that much easier for me come tryout time. And most of all, I saw Aisha Anderson finally saying yes when I asked her out. The very things I was hoping for in life were about to happen. So we line up. Tension and mean mugs are exchanged from both sides of the ball. I'm in my 3-point stance. I'm ready to take off. Quarterback says, hike, and I take off. I get the ball, it's secure. The hole is there as big as the Red Sea, and there's no one there to stop me. I'm seeing everything flash before my eyes. I'm ready. My dream is coming true, but something's happening. I don't like this feeling. It's making me uncomfortable. So I trip, and I fall in the backfield. Season's over. When I was asked to speak today about believing in yourself, this was the first story that came to my mind. It's not always the fear of failure that makes us insecure. Yes. Oftentimes, the fear of success is just as frightening. Yes. After the demise of my football career, I decided I was much better at acting. Because of that, I've turned into quite a movie buff over the years. I recently saw The Life of Pi. I'm pretty sure everybody in here has seen that. For those of you who haven't, there's a part that spoke to me the most. Now, we all know the synopsis. Young boy, he wants to learn about God, so he's fascinated with every religion, and he's studying it, and his father's a zookeeper. They decide they need to move, so they hop on this big old boat with all these circus animals, and they're at sea. Well, while they're at sea, a storm is happening. And this boy, who was fascinated by pretty much everything, says, hey, brother, let's get up. Let's check out this storm on the boat. And he's like, no, go back to sleep. What's wrong with you? You don't provoke a storm. So the boy's like, whatever. He goes out there, and he's enjoying himself. The rain falling on him. He's listening to the waves. He's having the time of his life until a huge wave comes and crushes on top of the ship there. Half the ship is covered in water. Finally, they decide it's time to evacuate. So the crew grabs this boy, and they're trying to push him in this canoe so he can escape the boat. And he's like, I got to get my family. And they're like, no, it's no time for your family. You got to go. And in all this commotion, a zebra falls on top of the boat, and they take off into the sea. So the boy's watching as this ship is now turning on its side and sinking slowly into the sea. And he can see the lights of the ship beneath him. And he's screaming and crying for his family. Mommy, daddy, brother, I'm sorry, because he feels like it's his fault. In that whole commotion, a couple of animals rescue themselves by climbing onto the boat. Then we see for, I don't know, it seems like a good 3 months, this boy is at sea by himself, him and the tiger. And the sun is just beaming down on him. At this point, I'm pretty much convinced this boy is shark bait. And I can't even really watch the movie, it's so uncomfortable. Finally, after all that agony, he finds himself at an island. And on this island, he can feed himself, and the tiger can feed himself. And they're just having the time of their life, even though there's no humans around. Late at night, the mammals that live on this island, they sense something and it makes them uncomfortable. So the tiger runs to the boat because the tiger doesn't want to be on the island. And the boy's up in the tree sleeping with all the meerkats. And he looks down at this pond. And in this pond, he sees the fish floating to the top dead. He picks a flower and he finds a human tooth in the flower. Oh my God. This island is carnivorous. I hear a few of my fellow nerds laughing. They know that's impossible. At this point, I realize how symbolic this island is. You see, when we're in pain, a lot of times we get a break in the pain. It might show up as another person. It might show up as a job. It might show out as something that is supposed to be temporary. But a lot of times we get comfortable because of the fear from what we just experienced, so we'd rather stay in this situation that was meant to be temporary. But this boy didn't do that. He didn't do like I do, get on Facebook and complain about his problems. He loaded up his boat with as much stuff as he could salvage, and he hit the road again. That's what let me know that oftentimes when we say, I don't believe in myself, I don't know what to do, what's really going on is we know exactly what we need to do, and we just don't want to do it. I like to look at God as like a master chef, you know what I'm saying? And besides everything else that's needed to be that, the most important thing is patience. Sometimes karma doesn't have nothing to do with it. Oftentimes, it's really just your turn. See, God was like, I think it's time to improve on that you recipe. So we get beat up sometimes like eggs, right? Or we just get flattened like dough. Some of us might get thrown in the freezer. We get to freeze for a while. Then there's that heat, that oven that gets turned to atomic. And we banging on the door. God, it's too hot in here. I can't take it. And we don't even get an answer sometimes. God ain't ignoring you. God is focused on the recipe. And so we keep banging and we keep screaming and we saying, God, it's too hot, I can't take it. And finally, when we decide we want to give up, out comes this beautiful masterpiece that God has created in the form of you. We're all made of the same essence of this thing we call the universe. If you can see it, it's a part of you. A lot of us may believe in the story of the creation, where God said it's good. Others may believe in the Big Bang Theory. The beautiful thing about that is whoever's right doesn't matter. Because if you're paying attention, both stories involve struggle. Both stories involve pain and heartache and this backbreaking work. So it's quite natural that when it's time for you to expand your consciousness, you're going to go through the exact same process. Everyone who's in science of mind, who's new to it, always has the same kind of reaction. First, they're happy and they realize their power, so they're always bragging to their friends and, oh yeah, that's right, I create my own destiny, that's what's going on. It's so fun to watch because I grew up in this. I'm like, any moment now, watch. Then comes that other part, right? Where you're like, wait a minute. I create my own destiny. So that means I'm responsible for everything that happens in my life. That feeling is kind of Kind of uncomfortable, right? That means you don't get to blame anybody up there or outside of you. No, see, that's all you right there. That's your consciousness. So for the longest time when I was like, when people say, hey, Lou, why'd you trip? And I say, oh, well, it just wasn't in God's plan. Finally, I got that ding, and it was like, no, bruh, you tripped on purpose. We saw you. Don't even try to do that. A lot of us in here only meditate when we come here in the morning. Yes. Don't trip. I was the same person for the longest time. Reverend E got me to where I'm meditating every day, and I realize what that's for. See, through our normal lives, we listen to things of what I like to call the outside world, where we update on our phones and we see something that we didn't like, or we see someone on TV who we feel we should be in their place, so we start eating at our own self-esteem and all these things. But what the meditation does is takes all that away so that you can hear that voice of God that is letting you know that you are worthy and to believe in yourself. I used to meditate maybe once a day when I come here. When it's over, be like, man, if I only did that every day. Just try that, y'all. Just try it. So, how I feel is that if you're here right now, if you actually have a life that you're experiencing, you've already been through the struggle and the pain. Yes. We all had to outswim millions of sperm to be here. Am I right? Yes. A marathon, you know what I'm saying? And from watching The Miracle of Life, I learned that the egg actually chooses which one gets to be in. So not only did you run a marathon and you was tired, you had to give one heck of an interview once you got there. I'm saying this for all the children in their mother's arms right now, because I know they hear me the most, for they're the closest to God, and children teach us more than anything. I don't believe in ADD. I do not believe in it one bit. I feel that all children learn differently, and that's just an excuse to not want to teach outside of the box that we were taught in. Amen. I don't believe it's fair to give a child who learns differently a crutch to lean on for the rest of their life. Oh, well, I would do that, but I got that ADD, so I better not try it. Ask me how I know. I was one of those kids, y'all. They told me I didn't learn like everyone else and that I should be held back in the first grade. They told me that my brain just wasn't really there enough to be in the class with all my rest of my friends. Remember that, mama? They told you that your son was stupid. Cold part about it was that I believed them. So I began to act stupid. I don't even want to tell you how much trouble I got in. Any of y'all had some windows broke, you might jump up here realizing that was me. I stole in every store I went. And finally, what really gave me the clue that I was fronting this whole time is when I found myself in a stolen car with the rest of my friends. Now, this was around the time that movie New Jersey Drive came out, so joyriding was real popular. And we got these red and blue lights flashing behind us. And I'm thinking to myself, this is not me. I don't even know how I got here. Could it be that I've been pretending to believe something that I knew wasn't true for that long? Yes, amen. Mm-hmm. Fear is a beautiful thing because it helps you realize that there's a different way out. It gets your attention, right? And the fear of me being in 150, as we called it back then for all the Oaklanders, I was convinced it was time to make a different choice in my life. A few years prior, there was a summer school I went to called African Children's Advanced Learning Center. Now, this was no ordinary school. They were allowed to discipline you however they felt need fit. If your homework wasn't done when it was supposed to be done, it doubled, then tripled, then quadrupled. if by the time Friday comes along and you don't have your homework done, we have what was called the Friday night party, where from Friday at 8 o'clock in the morning till Saturday the next morning, you were up all night doing homework, and you better not act like you were sleepy. I decided, even though I was afraid, that maybe this is the experience I need to get me back on track. So I decided, hey, Mom, why don't I go to this school for a year to get myself together? And she stood me up in front of the class and said, this is my son, Luchan, and told all the teachers, discipline him however you feel need fit. I made sure they didn't have to discipline me however they felt fit. What I'm saying is that I knew in my heart what it was that I needed. And I was tired of pretending like I was afraid. I was tired of pretending like I didn't know who I was. I was giving myself an excuse to fail, an excuse not to believe in myself. This school taught me about my history, the history that Oakland Unified is not going to give our children. Frederick Douglass taught himself how to read. What am I doing with myself? So finally, I got my life together, and I tried hard, and just so many nights just up studying like I was a college student practically. And I remember that one day where I came in the classroom and everybody smiled at me, and all my teachers said, congratulations, Mr. Baker. After all your hard work, you are now moved up to the rightfully grade you're supposed to be at. I knew what I needed. I knew it all along. I was just afraid of the work, afraid of the dedication, the sacrifice. But most of all, I was afraid of the unknown. You see, a lot of times we get this crutch, and we've carried it for so long, we think it defines us, right? I mean, yeah, bro, I want to stop smoking, but I've been smoking since this long, and if I stop smoking, who will I be after that? It's not a good time right now. I'll stop smoking next year, or, I want to eat healthy, but come on, man. I've been eating pork chops my whole life. I can't stop eating pork chops. Who will I be if I stop doing that? You know exactly what you need to do, so don't front like you don't. Let's stop pretending today. For the longest time, people would say, hey, you going to follow in your grandmother or your uncle's footsteps? Are you going to be a minister? That question used to always get on my nerves. And I realized that once you take that step toward what you're supposed to do, once you walk in the direction of your destiny, you are now required to stay in alignment with God. You don't get to pretend anymore. You don't get to act like that other person. And that's frightening, at least for me. I can't speak for y'all. For me, that's frightening. I don't like being held accountable. I'm sorry. I like excuses. They help me get by. Here I am. Believing in yourself is believing in God. There is no difference between the two. Actually, to worry is to doubt God. Now, there's someone in here right now going through something real. I can feel them. It's something very real. The pain and the frustrations may not be noticeable. Right now, we're all around like minds, and we're holding each other up. Somebody yells over here, somebody yells over here, and you get that conviction. But then after we pass the plate around and we go home, then there's that time where you at home by yourself. Then that doubt starts to raise up. What I'm telling you is that the meditating, the books, the workshops, the just simply knowing how to pray and stay in alignment, that is what's going to get you through that place of doubt where there's no one else around to call you, no one else to listen to you complain, where all you get to do is meditate and say, and so it is. So please, let's stop playing today. Let's stop acting like we don't believe in ourselves. I know all the parents feel me when through your normal days, the house starts to look kind of interesting. And you keep looking at it like, I'll do it later, and you don't feel like it. I mean, life is pretty much the same thing. It's a whole bunch of dirty dishes we got at home that we don't feel like washing, so we make reasons for why we don't handle it.
Yes, yes.
All right. I see the treatment boxes here, so I'm going to leave everybody with this one quote, which is my favorite quote. It's from a man by the name of Henry Ford. Whether we think we can or think we can't, you're right.
Amen.
Namaste.